That's right. Another episode of the Razzball Fantasy Football Podcast. Today we're breaking down the QB trade market. That's right. Free agencies here. Broke down Kirk Cousins and Baker Mayfield. You can go check out those videos on our channel at Razzball Fantasy YouTube channel. I am joined today by Derek Favret, Sky Go, and Matthew Styles. You can go follow him on Twitter, anywhere, or X, all across the board. And make sure you jump over to razzball.com and check out all the great articles and rankings from each one of these guys all off season long. Today, we're talking about those QB trades and how it can impact free agency and the 2024 fantasy football landscape. The big ticket ones, Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. Derek, I'll throw it over to you first. Which one is kind of like the one you're looking forward to the most, landing spot wise and or player?
Yeah, player for me. I'm really looking to see what happens with Russell Wilson. I don't expect him to stay in Denver much longer. In fact, he'll probably get traded before. At least the rumors are you're going to be traded before free agency starts, which makes sense. For Denver, they want to, if they're going to move on from him, they want to clear house and either, go for a free agent or just clear the way for the draft. So there aren't that many options I see for him, though. I see Russ as a veteran at this point. He's going to go somewhere. If you're going to trade for him, you're trading for a starter and you're trading for a quarterback who can take you if you're close, he's going to take you to that next level. So to me, that looks like Atlanta, Pittsburgh, Minnesota. If they've decided not to bring back Kirk Cousins, I mean, those are three places in particular where I think may be suitable for a trade for Russ. But I think that, the main thing is, he's clearly not going to be in Denver much longer. They may just outright release him, but certainly they're going to try to get something for it. And I think there are some teams out there who could benefit from that. So one of those three teams in particular, I could definitely see Russell Wilson playing quarterback for next year.
I got to tell you, the stuff that came out too about his contract, the injury stuff, and how they were like trying to strong arm him into like waiving that. It seems really weird. And then like there was also like kind of, I don't know if this is true. This is all speculation, but they talked about how Sean Payton was blowing up at him and yelling him at the sidelines. And they're like, they were trying to get him to react in some way so they can suspend him for conduct detrimental to the team and then not pay, and they could waive his injury. And I was like, I don't know if that's true, but it seems like it is a little ridiculous how like Russ wasn't even playing that bad and they were getting real aggressive towards him. I obviously think Sean Payton wants nothing to do with him. It's not a Sean Payton guy. Sky, what's your thoughts here on this one?
Before
go ahead,
sorry to interrupt, but before you move off of that, on that thought, Bobby, there is one coach that's active coach in the NFL who was suspended recently for a year for, conduct on his team. So you may not be too far off on that thought.
I like it.
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, that's a pretty dirty thought, but I definitely would not put it past the NFL in general, and certainly not an organization trying to make a move and save a buck. And let's fast forward all the way to the end of the season when Russell Wilson just miraculously ended up sitting the last two games of the season when, the Broncos weren't going to make the playoffs most likely. And even if they did, they weren't going to make a move. But nonetheless, they were competing at minimum. They were 500 or whatever their record was at that time. And they sit him because they didn't want him to get injured and then waive the clause and all this shit. And they might have done that because and Russ, look, say what you want about Russ. I think he's kind of corny too, whatever. But he seems like a good just dude. Like he's a regular nice person, right? His teammates like him, whatever. He's kind of cheesy, but whatever. And he's not the type of scream at me, fire me up type dude. And so the tough love, I don't think worked well with him. And until things went south with Pete Carroll, I think they were such a great match because Pete Carroll is such a player's coach there. This won't happen. But my dream scenario for Russell Wilson actually is to go back to Seattle now that Pete Carroll's not there. I think he would be absolutely fabulous, and the whole Northwest would be super pumped up to get Russ back. The only one that didn't like Russ was Pete Carroll. And obviously he's out now. So that's not going to happen, but that would be my dream scenario. Russell Wilson, 17.7 fantasy points per game. That was QB 14 on the season. Again, he missed the final two games, not due to injury. They benched him. Justin Fields, who we haven't got to yet, QB 18 on the season. He missed 4.5 games. He got hurt in week 6, missed 7, 8, 9, and 10. He was the QB 18, 18.4 fantasy points per game, though. So that jumps him ahead of Russell Wilson on a point per game basis. For me, Justin Fields is the one I'm paying attention to. I love this kid when he came out. I wanted the Niners to draft him. We got Trey Lance. The rest is history. I've wanted Justin Fields to be successful. He's been injured. It's been just circus in Chicago. Getting him a fresh start and seeing what he can do athletically, I think he's at least Jalen Hurts on a better team. And I'm really looking forward to that for fantasy football. So I think he could maybe be a Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts hybrid a little bit, which is great for fantasy, as we know. So I'm really excited to see where Justin Fields ends up, because it's coming out more and more that they want to do right by Justin, supposedly, but they're certainly going to be looking at the draft instead. So I think they're making a mistake taking Caleb Williams over Justin Fields. I'm going to call that a whiff right now, but I think they're going to do that. And Justin Fields will see greener pastures, but we keep mentioning Atlanta. Justin Fields in Atlanta would be sweet.
Matt?
If rumors are true, and normally they are not, he goes to Pittsburgh, he will become the second son, right? They will absolutely fall in love with him because he's going to run, he's going to be muddy, he's going to throw the ball around the yard. Now, if the rumor is that they're going to give up Deontay Johnson and a second for the first, and that Pittsburgh actually wants the 20th pick overall in that deal. I don't know how all this will shake out, but I think if you have a chance to get Justin Fields for a team like Pittsburgh, right, hard-nosed, dirty grass playing team. Justin Fields is different, right? He's a different beast on grass. People cannot stay up with him. I would love to see him in Pittsburgh. I don't think that'll happen. They have a little bit too much draft capital already in their quarterback room in Pickett and Mason Rudolph, but neither one has impressed. So I think he's going to be back in Chicago. I'm with Sky. I don't think Caleb Williams is the answer. Give Fields at least one more shot with or maybe 2 more years. Same OC, same head coach, right? Maybe work through some of these issues. Give him a playbook that's the same playbook year after year, where right now it's not. He's one of those quarterbacks like Baker that's going through turmoil because he has different OCs and different head coaches. As for Russ, I called it a while back. I'm going to say it again. Russell Wilson will be starting quarterback week 1 for the Las Vegas Raiders. That's all I got to say about that. And I wouldn't be shocked if he goes in as a package with either Marvin Mims or Jerry Jeudy to the Raiders.
Yeah, the weird thing about the situation is like Russ has the luxury of now be like, you guys can do whatever you got to do, but you're paying me. So
he's getting paid.
He's getting paid. So like he can now go to any team back. I'll play for the vet minimum. And that really kind of opens up a lot of options for him if that ends up happening. I just don't see a team trading for Russ based on all the bullshit that's going on right now and like all the rumors circulating. Like if I'm a team, I'm like, I know you're cutting this guy. Like I know you're not going to keep him on your team. Like I'll just wait it out. Like I just don't see any draft capital. And then Russ landing spots. Like I think the Russ thing for me is more like, I don't know if he's a timing rhythm guy. He doesn't seem like this, like, stay in the pocket. Like, that's why he butted head with Sean Payton. And, like, you know, he fell out of favor with Shane Waldron in Seattle. Like, he's not this West Coast kind of, like, stand in the pocket, timing rhythm, short throws. He's more of, like, I'm going to hold and make a play. And, like, when you kind of think of the kind of schemes in the NFL, like, you know, Luke Getsy, I mean, yeah, he does have experience with, Justin Fields with that kind of style. So maybe that makes sense if they don't go out and try to get Justin Fields. But it just like Luke Getsy was trying to make Justin Fields into a pocket passer, which is why he wasn't good the first half of the year. And you're watching it over and over again. You're like, why are you doing this? So I don't know if that makes sense either. I just struggle with Russ at this stage in his career. Like, he's probably going to have to go. I personally think the best fit for him is probably Pittsburgh. Like, I think he's a great vet. If you can get him on the vet minimum, him with Kenny Pickett, the team is literally one quality quarterback away from making it to the playoffs. And Arthur Smith, whatever the hell that offense is. But if you look at the Tannehill years, Tannehill was like, let's grip and rip. We're going to throw it deep to A.J. Brown, Corey Davis, that type stuff. So, but, you know, I don't know if that's the fit either. Justin Fields, Listen, I've been a huge Fields guy, but it's the same concept. I think the Raiders I would be annoyed. Like, really, Luke Getsy and Justin Fields back together again? That makes sense. That would, to me, makes no sense. And I don't know if he's a fit. Now, for years, I think we saw this and why I like Atlanta, for example, with the Shanahan tree. They started with RG3. They saw what the value of a dual threat quarterback could be. That rookie season was fantastic under Kyle Shanahan and Mike Shanahan. And then a few years later, they tried to replicate it with Trey Lance, and they went out and they spent the draft capital to get this dual threat quarterback. So maybe that coaching tree with Zach Robinson there now, maybe they feel the same way. I don't know if McVay felt the same way exactly, but I kind of struggle with a really clean Justin Fields landing spot. I guess, Derek, any thoughts about Justin Fields?
Well, I've been of the opinion, and I still am, that he needs to stay in Chicago. They could trade that pick, not even too far down in the first round, and just get a haul for it and just keep building that team around him. I think if in the right situation, Fields could, really grow into a player that, like we see, in Baltimore, who, by the way, is an MVP caliber player. So, why can't Fields kind of fit that model as well and just build a team around him? But it just seems like they're handcuffing him all the time, just trying to find reasons to, get rid of him. So I'm in the case that he needs to stay and they need to build around him.
I think another issue too here is that the top three teams there's like the quarterback. I guess, Sky, what do you feel about the top six or so rookie quarterbacks coming in? Like that, I feel like this kind of clouds things a little bit. Like, I mean, where would you put Justin Fields amongst those guys? Or if you're like a Falcons, Broncos, maybe even Seattle, no, teams that are looking for a number one quarterback who don't have a top three pick, like, is Fields the guy, or would you prefer to take a rookie?
You're saying if Justin Fields was in this draft class?
Yeah, I'm saying if Justin Fields right now is in this draft
That's what you're
class, would you
asking me?
put him at 1? And then the second part of that is,
Yeah.
like, is he worth, because you're going to have to pay Fields at some point. Like, with the rookie, you could
Yeah.
draft him at 12, and you're going to get the rookie contract for the next 4 years until the 5th year option. But there isn't that many teams.
Right. Yeah, but you're also getting the unknown with the rookie, right? And I think Jaden Daniels is a little bit raw because he's got the Lamar thing, right? Like, he can throw, he has a huge arm, and he can obviously run, Heisman Trophy, whatever, but he's kind of raw. Caleb, we've talked about Caleb. I'm not a Caleb fan. Drake May is the one that we don't really bring up a lot. I think he's like Justin Herbert possible body type wise, but those guys are either incredible or just don't work out, right? Like, period. I think Hinton's maybe my favorite from Tennessee, but nobody talks about him at the top. Anyway, Justin Fields would be number 1. So if I'm the Bears, I keep Justin Fields. I've been talking about that since the season ended, but they're not going to do that. I think it's a little bit of like clear the air type of vibe. You know what I mean? Like, Ryan Pace wants to kind of like get out from underneath this thing. It's been okay, but not great. He should have made bigger strides by now. All of a sudden, the Packers, you thought you were going to get a break when Rodgers, retired. You didn't. Jordan Love showed up, and now they're right back there. I mean, if Kirk Cousins comes back healthy and returns, the Vikings are just as good as they were, and the Lions are great. So, like, you're the bottom of the barrel still. And I think it's just the hotness in the NFL to turn things over and try a rookie. They're going to go with Caleb Williams, and he's going to be fine. He's not going to be a number 1 pick that everyone's hyping him up to be. And I think the teams that get Jaden Daniels and they get Drake May and Hinton later in the draft, they're better teams. Even if they sit for a minute, I think they're going to be better off. So for me, it'd be a no-brainer to keep Justin Fields, who was, I just want to throw this out there real quick. I was looking up while you guys were talking. Justin Fields was behind Dak Prescott, Stafford, Purdy, Love, your boy Flacco, T-Law, Jackson, Hurts, and Allen for points per game when he got back from his injury. And Russell Wilson was right behind him. So both of them had a great week 11 through, let's say, week 17 to finish out the fantasy season. So both those guys were top 12 to end the year. They both started pretty shaky. So I think they're both going to be fine. Russell's got plenty left in the tank. And I think someone's going to get a steal in Fields, to be honest with you. He needs to get a clear opportunity out of Chicago too.
I think a team that I would love to see him to go to is the Commanders. Cliff Kingsbury would be interesting with him, especially with his work with Kyler Murray.
RG4?
Yeah. Yeah, it'd probably be a dumpster fire. But like when you look at the fits, like to be honest with you, if you take out the top 3 teams, the Patriots, the Commanders, and then the Bears, like it's Falcons, Seattle, and the Broncos. Like those are the 3 teams that like Raiders. So there's 4 teams that really need a quarterback. Like Getsy, no, I'm not putting him with the Raiders. It makes no sense. Falcons, I think, makes sense to an extent. They have the talent around them too. I guess Broncos, like Matt, what's your thought? I mean, like really think about like when you're thinking about the landing spots, like what are you thinking here? Is it especially because you have Russ too out there? Like what's the deal with these?
For years, the Bears should have been listening to me. I would have made them better. They just
Makes
listened.
sense.
Yeah, Getsy's not a good hire. Eberflus is not a good hire. We knew that. We all said it, right? But we're not in front offices, so we don't get to make those decisions. Ryan Pace is not making great decisions from a front office perspective. He can continue to make bad decisions by saying, well, we whiffed on Justin Fields without giving him a real shot. I think the Bears need to admit that there are way more Will Levis's, Jamarcus Russell's, RG3s in the draft than there are Patrick Mahomes, right? And say, we've got our guy. Let's trust our guy. Let's give him a playbook and a coaching staff that sticks around for a while. And by the way, let's go draft the generational wide receiver talent that is NFL ready today, pedigree. We can trade down, like Derek mentioned, get a haul out of the deal. Maybe they trade back to 3. Maybe they trade back to 2. Maybe they trade back to 4. And they grab Marvin Harrison and then tell Justin Fields, go do what you do, right? The 3 of you, DJ Moore, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Justin Fields, the playbook is yours. Go nuts. We're already slated to lose the division, to finish 4th, so we don't give a shit. Go out and just fucking have fun for this year, and then we'll make improvements next year. We already know we're a dumpster fire. Let's figure it out. Let's get some help on defense. We'll get you some weapons. But by the way, we're going to hand you the best receiver in the draft that's already charted to be better than Chase, to be better than Jefferson coming into the draft. So they don't need a quarterback. They need consistency, and they need an additional stud weapon through the air for Justin Fields. And by the way, of this 4-person panel, this quad box, I am the Justin Fields hater, and I'm the one saying as well, keep him, Chicago. He's the best chance you have. It's not Caleb Williams, because you got a 2-year window where you got to figure out, oh, wait, he's playing just like Justin Fields did. So what do we do with him? Do we let him go? Do we trade him? Do we go draft another quarterback? Fuck off. Stop drafting quarterbacks and figure it out in the head coach and the offensive coordinator and give them weapons to succeed. That's all I got to say about that, Bob.
Nice. I do agree that, like, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, I was just going to say that, you had called out Justin Fields being mid on occasion. And of course, we all know that you started the hashtag Never Fields. My question to you would be, he leaves Chicago for whatever reason. Where is a landing spot or 2 we've talked about where you would keep the hashtag Never Fields / where are some that you would drop the hashtag? Maybe Fields, maybe a fuck yeah Fields, or Fields is gas or something like that.
Yeah, I would drop the hashtag Never Fields if he went to Washington, because I'd feel sorry for him. They feel like a full rebuild with the ownership down, right? The enemy's gone. Just kind of a weird vibe there. I would probably change the hashtag if he went to the Raiders, but like Bob said, he's not going to go play for Getsy. Getsy has already said, we're not going to go after Fields. There had to have been that discussion. It didn't work with me and him. It's not going to work here. So let's not even do that. If he goes to Seattle, I'm not a big fan of the Seattle fan base. I'm a Mariners fan, not a Seahawks fan. But I think he can be successful.
Tell me about it, bro. It's brutal.
Yeah. I'm not a Seahawks fan, never have been. Grew up there my whole life, but the fan base is just kind of weird. They've got the one sport. They really need to bring the Sonics back to give football fans something better to root for. Yeah.
I like that.
Hey, what about the Kraken, bro? What about the Kraken?
I'm a Lightning fan. They got beat 6-2
Double
in Philly
puck up
tonight.
here
I'm
now.
not in the mood to talk hockey, but thank you, Sky.
Okay, sorry.
Interesting. Yeah, I do think when you're looking at I mean, and the Giants, there's a lot of conversations about like Daniel Jones, but like, listen, I think you're kind of pot committed there. I know it'd be nice to maybe go get a Justin Fields type player or trade up. But the other thing about the Justin Fields thing I found interesting that Matt said was, in theory, if either the Commanders or the Patriots are all in on Caleb Williams, you just have to drop one or two spots. You're going to get Marvin Harrison.
Yep.
So, but the question is like, is Caleb Williams some team's guy in the top? I mean, because I don't think he falls to 8 unless you think Neighbors is like another top 5 pick type player, and then you could fall to 8 or slip to 8 to get to the Raiders pick, and then you take Neighbors or something like that. But I think the Raiders are on a win now kind of mindset. I think Antonio Pierce wants to they don't want a rookie going in there. I think Russ makes a lot of sense that you just brought up too. I kind of like that fit a little bit, even though Getsy's kind of a knucklehead when it comes to like maximizing a player's talents. But anyway. But all right, before we close out the show, really quick, one answer. I know we kind of all answered this question already, but let's get it on the record nice and clean. Where is Fields? Where is Russell Wilson at the end of the start of the 2024 season? Derek, I'll start with you.
Fields needs to be back in Chicago. Russell Williams is playing for the Commanders, and I have a scenario in my mind. I'll save it for another show. And the other thing I want to point out before we go, the takeaway I'm going to take from this show is Caleb Williams is Bryce Young 2.0, according to Sky. Write it down.
Ooh. Derek said it. Derek's absolutely right. Sort of. So Justin Fields should go back to Chicago. He won't. Justin Fields is going to go to the Atlanta Falcons. And next year's Madden game is going to be off the hook. I'm really excited about that. And then we're going to keep Russ in division, send him out to Vegas, more of a limelight for Ciara. You got to think outside the box here. And literally in Vegas, you can be Mr. Unlimited. So just something to consider there. Russell Wilson to the Raiders, Justin Fields to the Falcons.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Russell Wilson. I'm gonna double down or triple down now. He's going to the Raiders. If he doesn't, I like Derek's scenario of Washington, but I want to hear how that all works out. I think there's a handful of head coaches in the NFL that think they're smarter than everybody else. Belichick would have been one of them. He's now out of a job. Sean Payton is right below Belichick. Believes he's the smartest guy in the room. I don't think that he necessarily is. He had Drew Brees and a fantastic defense. So with that, they win a Super Bowl. Peyton's smart, but he's not that guy. So if I'm every other owner in the league or every owner that needs a quarterback, I'm not trading for Russell Wilson either. I'm going to call your bluff and make you release him, and then I'll go get him for the veteran minimum. Again, Vegas, possibility to Washington. I don't see him going to Atlanta. Justin Fields should stay in Chicago. If he doesn't, he's going to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I'm with Sky on this one. I think Fields to Atlanta. Russell Wilson to the Raiders. But I think the dark horse for me is Russell Wilson. I like Russell Wilson to Pittsburgh as well. I do think Tannehill probably ends up there, most likely, because of his ties to Arthur Smith and I think they want Kenny Pickett to be the guy, and they're hoping that they bring in a veteran just in case. Like Russ comes in, you kind of have to go Russ. But if Tannehill comes in, you could kind of get away with Pickett early on in the season at least and see how he plays. So that's why I think it goes Tannehill to Pittsburgh, and then I think Russ to the Raiders. All right, that's all we got today, folks. This is the Razzball Fantasy Football Podcast on the Razzball Fantasy YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe, leave a comment, and tell us where you think these guys will land in 2024. Also, make sure you jump over to Razzball.com and check out all the great articles we currently have on the rankings. Matt's dropping his wide receiver rankings. You got Derek at quarterback, Sky at running back, and me in my top 150. But make sure you go follow them as well on Twitter, or X, if you will. Derek_Favorite at Sky Gawasco and Styles08. And I'm Bobby Lamarco. Thank you for joining us once again, folks. We are out of here.